Good morning, it's Friday and we are a bit more on it than we were yesterday. How are you? Welcome to Suzi's Breakfast Club. I've got special flowers in a special vase. I've got a special guest who I love. I've got my little special cup and I can't find my glasses, so I've got my £2.99 ones, so I probably won't be able to see anything I've written down. Anyway, I hope you're very well on this Friday, the 15th of May, or as we say here, in the semi-French lockdown. Geordie Lodger.
Day 60 in the semi-French lockdown.
We don't know if it's day 60, but we're going with
just
that.
Making it up. And how come everything else is special? You didn't say I was special?
Well, you're definitely special. How are you? Are you all right?
I'm kind of.
Slightly worried about the... Right, I will say something nice about him. He often lays out a bit of breakfast in the morning because, you know, I've started to put a bit of makeup on and do my hair and stuff for these things because we're posting them on YouTube. And I thought I can't look a wreck all the time. So he lays out breakfast, but when I came down this morning, there was a bowl, some yoghurt, a spoon, and a packet of Felix Party Mix. You are taking the mick.
I found it outside.
I don't eat cat food.
I thought to save it. I was going to put it in your music to see if you noticed.
I remember once I was little, I did eat some Whiskers biscuits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Well, that's why I'm like I am. Today is the birthday of Mike Oldfield. Do you know who Mike Oldfield is?
Of course.
Go on.
Got a great band.
Yep. What famous album?
Played golf in his spare time.
Saviour of Virgin Music? Tubular Bells?
What?
Okay. It's Mike's birthday. It's Nicola Walker's birthday, who I adore. Most fabulous British actress. And Andy Murray.
Yes.
So happy birthday to you, if it's your birthday. Let the Geordie Lodger know, because I haven't got any written down, so you can't have told me. Special shout out today, though, for Highways England traffic officers, because they are keeping everything flowing. And yesterday I had a lovely message from Darren Worth. He said, can you say hello to us, because we're working really hard. So hello, thank you from everybody for keeping the roads uncongested. Last night, Narina Palo's Hold Tight session was on YouTube. It was wonderful, as always. Julie Bradbury's got a new Instagram TV post up on mental health. She did her chat. And Jack Savaretti, every day, don't forget, he's putting out a new song. And he's still going, he's still doing it, which is marvellous. We are thinking, because it's semi-lockdown and because this is slightly now interfering in my work for BT, that tomorrow's show, which will hopefully feature slap bass superstar Mark King from Level 42. He's hopefully going to be with us tomorrow. That's probably going to be our last Saturday. We're just going to strip it back a little bit because there are just things I need to do, and I'm still going to keep creating content. In order to create content for the new channel that we are making, I need to have some more headspace and some more time. Don't want to sound arsey, but so we'll keep the Breakfast Club going for a few days, but then we'll produce content in other ways. I think that's going to be better for everybody overall. And I know lots of people are starting to go back to work. The Geordie Lodger's having a small panic. I think it might be Fern. I think maybe there's a slight struggle with Fern getting in. That's okay, she'll be here in a minute. Also, he hasn't thrown me a phone, so I can't talk to you. You've been... Don't whisper, because I've just said that. What have you been doing? Is everything all right?
Yeah, she's all cool. She's all good in the hood.
She's ace, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's the most ace person in the whole world, Fern Britton.
You chatting?
Yeah, I love this. We're just chatting. Were you like, oh, we are live?
No, just chatting. We're going to arrange to go out next week and I think we'll go for a meal. And
You're going to socially distance?
yes.
Oh, look at your face.
What's up with it?
You're imagining if you actually could go out for a little cup of coffee with Fern.
Yes, I am in my head now.
I'm going before you.
Okay.
Okay. New Deenies, hello, morning to you. Amit, good morning to you. Foxy Smithy, well, hello there and happy Friday. Shelley Boyd from Loch Lomond, how is it up there? Oh, it's so beautiful, isn't it, Scotland? Jamie Kellum, hello. Roger Crowther. Sarah Blythe, hello, darling, I hope you're okay. Jay Cook, good morning. K Fit of 50, how are ya? Kevin Ward, a big wave to you. Lorraine Stanton, happy Friday. Rabsky 69, TFI Friday. It should be TGI, swearing. Thank goodness it's Friday. Babsky, so naughty. Derek McAndrew, good morning to the Geordie Lodger and me.
Morning.
Stewboy64, hello. Ruth36, sunny Surrey. Sounds like it's very nice in the UK today. I'm very happy for that. It means you can get out and have a little walk. Frank Green, 21, good morning. He's going to have a look at YouTube. Oh yeah, I need to look under Suzi Perry. I'll post a link later. We haven't got a lot up there, but we've got a few up there. What are you doing with your hood up?
I just thought the camera switched. Can you ask Fern if she's watching either on a laptop?
Fern, can you make sure you're watching on a phone or a iPad?
Yes.
Because I think you can't get in if you're watching on your laptop.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct. She's there but unable to join, so I don't know if she's watching on a laptop or not.
I'm sorry, Fern. You're going to have to switch to a phone or an iPad. It's Instagram. It's not super friendly, I'm afraid. Good morning, Vanda Tomlinson. It's nice here, by the way, today. It's there was a massive storm last night. The bells, thunder and lightning, and very, very frightening for one of the cats. Although the other two cats were guarding the cat flap, and they were arguing about the cat flap. So I put the doorstop in the middle of the two of them, and I played some music and videoed it,
wasn't it?
because that's what last night was all about. Team Japan GP, hello to you. Frank Green, 21. He knew about tubular bells.
Well, right, did he? Well, nobody likes to show off the...
We all know about tubular bells. Everybody's saying tubular bells.
What about tubular bells? I've got bells going off at 7 minutes past every single day.
Yeah, they're not quite the same, is it? My mum says, please could you leave that yellow top at our house next time you're here? My mum is a thief. She's a clothes thief. Do you know, do you need this?
I need to bring more.
Did you go and speak to Fern, your new best friend?
Fern again.
Honestly. This morning I was listening to the radio. I was listening to Zoe on Radio 2. Oh, I'm really upset that they're thinking of taking BBC 4 offline. Because it's the best channel, isn't it? It has the best music documentaries, has the best Scandi drama.
Oh, nope,
they
she
did
must
start
have heard.
putting that. She was listening. She was making a cup of tea and listening.
And Mark Blundell's there as well.
Good morning, Mark Blundell. How are you? I hope you're very well. I see you've been doing some Insta Live. You know what? I think we've encouraged people to go lives.
Yes.
Laura, what's where?
What's where?
Good morning to all of you. I'm going to have a slurp of coffee.
One
Excuse me for 1 second.
That's good. No, coming in now. Connection. Boom! Yes!
Ah,
Yes!
Yes!
There she is!
It's
There
worked.
she is, my
you
queen!
see, shush, you're the most gorgeous woman on the planet. And also, nicer than that, you are a woman's woman. Yes!
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 And yet, the bells are here to bring you into the conversation. And yet, Fern, 82% of my Instagram followers are men. So what's going on with that?
Well, I think it's because women are allowing them to, because you're a nice woman. Yeah?
How are you, lovely lady?
Darling, I'm fine. I'm sorry that the technology got me. Nobody said don't do it on the laptop. And I thought, how clever am I? I've got this all set up. And then you couldn't hear me. So I'm sorry, darling. But all is well. All is well. The cat has... can we just talk to cats for a minute?
Yes.
My old boy, well, he's nearly 11. And he's perfectly fine. Except he jumped on the bed this morning stinking of poo. And I think he's eating poo. Is that normal?
I know dogs eat poo. I've never seen cats eating poo.
No. So I'm a bit concerned. So sorry to share that with you, but if you have any veterinary surgeons watching, perhaps I could get some information on that. And then he's just come in with a mouse as well. So, I mean, it's all disgusting. Cats.
Maybe it's just the mouse thing. Maybe he's eating mice and that's what smells of poo.
Well, no.
Actual poo.
No. It's over a few days we've discovered that somebody's there. There he is. Disgusting boy.
What's his name?
Bob.
Oh.
Do you want to see him? Hang on.
Yeah. Let's have a look at
God.
Bob.
Just got to
Bob,
get up.
Stop
Here he is.
eating the poo-poo.
Oh, can you see him?
I've got a slight delay on my phone, but everybody else probably can see him. Can you see him?
Yeah.
Geordie Lodge?
Can you see
Yeah.
him?
Yeah.
There he is. Bob,
Yeah.
the poo-eating cat.
He's revolting. Anyway, I love him to bits, but this is a new level of revolt that he has taken on. There
Oh,
we go.
Bobski.
There we are. So good.
We've got that out of the way. I have to say, actually, all week people have been talking about poo. And it started with Jason Plato
Yeah.
telling us his story about Cheryl Cole when he said on air that he thought she'd gone off for a poo and then she wouldn't speak to him for the rest of the day, which is
Well,
sort
I'm
of
not
slightly
surprised.
understandable. Well,
Yeah,
quite.
I do understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, on the other hand, wouldn't you just laugh and go mind your own business?
Well, I suppose if you were having a bad day, well, if it's Jason Plato, I mean, you would laugh because that's what he's like.
Well, yeah. There you
Anyway,
go. These
it's
young
been
men.
it's been very much like that. You like your cars, don't you?
I do. I'm a bit. I'm missing the F1 terribly. I really am missing the F1, and we play a fantasy F1 game. There's about 20 of us, and I've been playing it for about 20 years, and I've won it once and came second once, came third once. But we play for money. You put £10 in at the beginning of the season, and then put your predictions in every race day before qualifying, obviously. And I was so excited. I've even dragged in another couple of people to play, but it's nothing, is it? I'm sorry. I'm sad.
No, it's nothing. But there's a lot of news being generated at the moment from the paddock, obviously, with this switcheroo of seats going on, and
Yeah.
Sebastian Vettel kind of walking away or parting company, shall we say, with Ferrari.
Well,
You're a Vettel fan, aren't you? You like Seb?
I do. I like him very much, and he's a very good driver. But maybe he has come to the end, and the end comes for people when they least expect it. Sometimes, and maybe that's it. But he'll be a brilliant commentator and everything else. But it is sad. But then they're talking about possibly Massa coming back, aren't they? No,
Again?
Alonso. Sorry, Alonso.
Oh, I was going to, yeah.
No, sorry,
Although
Alonso.
yesterday I did see that Ferrari were looking at Indy, and I was thinking, oh, maybe, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
Anyway, do you
But
think they'll get any racing done this year?
I honestly think it's 50-50, and I
Yeah.
still think, although obviously they're planning to start, weren't they, at Silverstone in July, doing 2 consecutive weekends.
Yeah.
Hang on, Georgie Lodge's Fern's a bit blurry.
Am I a bit no, I want to be a bit blurry.
Okay.
Sorry, was it too close? Is that better?
There you go.
No, it's just a bit of a Wi-Fi issue. So it's fine. Don't worry about it. It goes like that sometimes. I've forgotten what I was talking about.
We were talking about racing,
We
July.
were.
Doesn't matter.
Does it really?
Not really.
Anyway, I know. I was telling you that so Silverstone, there's supposed to be there was some issue that I don't know if it's been resolved yet. I don't think it has. So it's whether governments allow it. Of course, it will happen without any people watching, and the paddocks will be slimmed down on personnel, exactly the same as MotoGP. So we're still waiting for confirmation, and I guess we'll know more in June. I would think so.
You must be missing it. My God, right now you'd be globetrotting, wouldn't you?
Well, I would be globetrotting, and what I've tried to do is look at the positive side of not doing it, which means I've been able to start this new project, which has turned me into a YouTuber, so I'm feeling quite youthful.
It's lovely.
That's about to happen. So we're gonna take this and sort of evolve the Breakfast Club into something else.
Nice.
And also, when we do get racing again, it's fairly obvious that I'm going to be going to London to present the racing from the studio, I would think. So that isn't obviously being in Iraq, it isn't being in Australia and Japan, which I loved going to those races, and of course that's a big part of it. But what it is a year of resting from huge travel, which has ripped me to shreds, if I'm completely honest, over the last 25 years. And, maybe that's good for my body. And so I'm just trying to pull out the small amount of positives from it.
Well, there are a lot of positives. There are, though, aren't there? I mean, personally, and because I'm in Cornwall, and we've got something like just over 500,000 people in Cornwall, and it's been a long, long way away from the epicenter of the virus, and we sit and we watch the television and we see all these terrible things happening in the big cities where obviously there are a lot of people, and it feels very unreal here, and so unreal that actually feels rather like heaven. Perhaps I have died and I'm in heaven, you don't know. And it's done a lot of us an awful lot of good, which is, I feel guilty saying that. But then again, you have to count your blessings. And I think this lockdown has been, I feel mentally better than I have for about 20 years. There's nobody knocking at the door. There's nobody ringing unnecessarily. it's just lovely. And it's taken me, it's also given me a little while to recuperate from, I had a tough couple of years really. My mum died, my father died, my cat died, my marriage folded. And so to get a chance to just sit and not have any responsibility or worries or anxieties is really lovely. So I'm taking it as actually being in a health farm, really. Except I'm eating biscuits and drinking wine.
Well, I think that's all very fine to be able to drink wine and eat biscuits. Have you got company with you in your lockdown situation then?
Yes. We came down. I came down last June with the cats and my daughters because my younger daughter Winnie, she'd just finished her A levels and left school, and was having a gap year. She didn't want to go to university anyway, which I think is amazing and quite good actually, because you come out of university now with a good degree that may not even get you a job and a huge debt. So.
Yeah.
And Grace she's 23 now. She had just finished her degree. And so both of them needed to have some space. So we came down just for the summer last year. And they got jobs in a lovely little restaurant and busy working away and making friends and, all of that stuff. And so when lockdown came, we just stayed and stayed and stayed. And it's interesting being with daughters who are becoming alpha females, definitely, whereas I've always been the mum in the pride, but I'm not the chief lioness anymore. I'm treated as a bit of a dimwit. They'll be amazed that I actually managed to get onto this and do it properly because they're both in bed at the moment. But it's very nice, and the privilege of watching the girls turn from girls into young women, it's been lovely.
And do you feel as though they've really helped you in the situation with everything that's happened?
Yes, they have, but it was unintentional. We didn't do this as this is the plan. It just happened, and then we stayed, and then it was Christmas, and then it was lockdown, and then here we are. So actually, it's been wonderful, and I have two boys as well, and they are in. One of them is teaching in Hastings, and finding it quite difficult. It's his first year as teaching, and so it was difficult for him to get adjusted to being Mr. Jones, English teacher, with your own classroom.
Yep.
And here are your pupils. And then suddenly, Mr. Jones, you are now furloughed. And now, Mr. Jones, you are in helping key workers' children. And now you have a class of children whose ages will range from 11 to 18. And we haven't really got much of a curriculum left. So if you want to be inventive and teach them all, and so he's actually started to enjoy that very, very much. And my other son is in Westminster, in a flat in Westminster, with his stepbrother. And they've both been good boys for the last few weeks. But now I understand he's, my other son, Harry, he's gone back to work. And he's an artist. And he's working in a framing place where they make really beautiful frames for proper old paintings. Not just, I'd like you to frame this picture, please.
Yeah.
Proper job. And he can carve them and rub them down and make them into circles and any sort of shape you want. He's loving that.
Proper artisan.
Sorry?
A proper artisan.
He is. Yeah, he is a proper artisan, and he's been taught by a man who is one of those craftsmen who has passed his skills on. So it's terrific.
Yeah.
So although I'm worried and I haven't seen them since Christmas, I'm desperate to throw my arms around them and snip them up, because you do that with your children. But they are being grown-up men doing grown-up things. It's lovely.
And thank goodness for this technology where you can actually see each other when you're talking to each other and feel as though you've been a part of each other's lives, don't you?
Yes, they don't always want to see me. Or maybe they don't always want me to see the situation they're in.
That's more likely.
Yeah, I think that's probable, but I don't force them. They know I'm always on the end of the phone, and I get very, very regular phone calls from both of them. So it's lovely, really nice.
Very good. Now, which of your children are the ones that like the hodgepodge pie?
Oh, that's the teacher, Jack. Yes, he's not very keen on, as a child, he wasn't very keen on vegetables and fruit. So I used to have to, and he didn't like the texture of mince. So that was spaghetti bolognese, shepherd's pie, all out of the window. So I had the idea to mix an ordinary, bolognese up and then whiz it, blend it. But he loves mashed potato. So then I put mashed potato, a layer of mashed potato in the bottom of the dish, and then the blended bolognese or shepherd's pie, mince and vegetables and things in between that, and then put more mashed potato on the top of that. And that was called jubby pie. And everybody ate jubby pie in the family. And you were all getting all your nutrients, but there were no horrible, actual vegetables staring at you and lumps of meat. And we still do jubby pie. Now, the person who told you about that is a friend of ours, isn't it?
Yes. But I didn't know this. So this is my friend Ali, who I grew up with. I've known her since I was born. Her mum worked with my mum at Goodyear.
Oh, really?
So we've grown up being best friends, and she's lived with me in London, and she's toured with Mamma Mia as the wardrobe mistress. And that leads me to how you know her, because she was looking after wardrobe, I think, when you did the Strictly tour. Is that right?
That's right. Yes, I went off to do the Strictly tour, and she was wardrobe, and she wasn't a wardrobe, obviously she was the wardrobe department. And Ali Breakwell, she's fantastic. We had such a laugh. She and the girls, her team, they were so funny, and she's extremely funny. And there would be jokes that we could all do together that we wouldn't be able to do in front of some of the others. So, when you're in a team of dancers and, faces dancing and stage management team and wardrobe team, I don't know about you, when you're out racing, I mean, do you congregate more with the mechanics and the engineers and the backstagers rather than the drivers? But I always love stage management, and I had a ball just hanging out with all the crew, the technical crew and the band. They were lovely.
Well, you studied that, didn't you? You went to college and studied stage management, because I didn't know that, and I was reading a little bit last night, just to make sure I didn't miss any big posts or anything. And I thought, how funny, because I used to work in the theatre when I was between 15 and 20. I worked on the technical side as a follow spot operator, sound, stage, that sort of stuff. So kind of the same sort of thing.
So that engaged with you as well. It's terrific, isn't it? It's so much fun. I'd recommend it as a job to anybody. Yes, so I left school in those days, which was like 1876. I went to a very good girls' school, a state school, and was deputy head girl, my dear, and all of those things. Flunked every A level, just flunked the whole lot, was never going to go to university. And anyway, it was a school, even then, even though it was a good school for girls, they didn't push university to anybody. I stood outside the careers office one day, and the careers officer called me in, and she said, well, what do you want to do? The girl who came out before I went in, she went, oh my gosh, she says, I've got to be a lampshade maker. What? So I went in and thought, oh. And this woman, I had never done a school play, never been invited to be in a school play. I think they thought I'd be, unbearable because my father's an actor, blah, blah, blah. And I never asked to be in a school play, but I used to write all the school reviews and the gags and the sketch shows, obviously. But anyway, so I went in, and the teacher, this is... what did I say? Careers officer. She said, oh, your father's an actor. And I said, yes. She said, I suppose you want to act. Well, I'd never shown sign of that. And I said, not really. And she said, oh, well, you can be a stage manager. Gave me an application form for the Central School of Speech and Drama and said, fill that in and send it off. And so I went home and I said to my mother, apparently I'm going to be a stage manager. And she went, well, it's a horrible job, And I said, well, yeah, I can do that. That's all right. So I did the interview. I got into college. And that was my life for the next 3 or 4 years before television came in when I was, 1980, when I was 22. So
that's so weird. Because if no one knew that, they probably thought that you studied journalism, because obviously you spent some time working in the Southwest in television. It was it Meridian then? Was it Southern Television then?
Well, before that, 1980, I went down to Plymouth and I was with Westwood Television.
Westwood, yes.
Yeah, Westwood, which then became TSW. But by then, the BBC in Plymouth had poached me, which was very exciting.
Yes.
And then Breakfast Time had opened up in London, and the Breakfast Time crew came down to do something in the Southwest, and I suddenly got a phone call from them saying, would you like to come up and be on the show? And then I got a bit of a part-time job there, and then I started reading the news. And so journalism I mean, I spent like 14, 15 years in newsrooms. So I think that's a pretty good standing, really, a learning ground, definitely.
Absolutely.
I did an
And then
apprenticeship.
and don't gloss over the breakfast time thing, because you you were the youngest newsreader on the BBC ever at that
Yes,
time.
on national news, not just breakfast time. I mean, I used to read the lunchtime bulletin. And yeah, I was 23, I suppose. Amazing.
Yeah, isn't it? And Selena Scott would be sitting there in her statuesque alabaster skin, like throwing to you, and then you would read that. I remember it really well. What were those days like? Heady.
Yes, newsrooms were full of testosterone. They're probably the same, but it was full of testosterone. Journalists would be throwing typewriters around, because there was no computers, obviously. The air was thick with cigarette smoke. When you stood up out of your chair, you hit this sort of cloud of smoke above you. I used to say, we don't secondary smoke, we tertiary smoke. I mean, we're just constantly inhaling. And there would be brawls amongst the male journalists. Sometimes there were others who were incredibly sexist. There was a very famous reporter at the time who spent a lot of time out on the sort of Afghanistan borders and in the Hindu Kush, and he would arrive in the newsroom straight off the plane wearing tribal gear because he wanted people to know how important it was. And he stood up, he came to me at my desk and put his foot on the desk and his crutch virtually in my face and said, oh, you're new around here, and all that sort of stuff. On my first day in the BBC newsroom, I arrived all perky and excited, had to be there for the 8 o'clock morning briefing. And there was a big table with lots of chairs around it. And there was one chair empty. Well, I didn't want to sit in it, obviously. And there was a few slidey sort of glances around the table. And then some man said, oh, come and sit in this chair. I went, oh, thank you. Sat down. At the end of the room, the double doors banged open. And in came head of news, who walked up and said, you are in my chair. And they all were sniggering. And you think, you assholes, pardon me, but they were. But on the other hand, it doesn't help you grow up. Because they would shout at you, tell you the film you'd made or what you'd done. It was absolute rubbish and crap, and it would destroy you. But then after the show, particularly when you do an evening bulletin or something, you'd go to the bar and everything would be fine. So I learned very early on not to take things personally, and that helped a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say that must have stood you in good stead for the later years going through television. I mean, it's 4 decades, isn't it, of being in television, and you obviously have ups and downs in that, and to still be working in television, you have to we all know that you're lovely, but you do have to have a be able to engage a hard skin at times, don't you, in television, because it can be an alleyway of ego and insecurity. And I'm talking about the people that are on the other side of the camera, not the people necessarily in front of camera.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you have to earn your stars with them as well, particularly cameramen. When you're making your first shoot and you're on a film and there's no director and it's just you and a sound man and the cameraman, and you walk into a factory and you find the man you want to interview and you set it up, and then the cameraman says, well, are you sure that you want to put the camera here? And immediately undermines you and scares you and go, why wouldn't I? Well, if you want the light to come out green, or what, they just really push you. But my God, it's such a learning ground, and it does toughen you up. And there are times when, of course, you go to the loo and have a kind of rant and a couple of tears, but you just understand it's not personal. It's not because they don't like you, it's because they really want you to test you. And once you've got it down, you've got it.
So going through, this is going to ask you an impossible question now, but
go for it.
Just going through all those shows that you've done, all those times that you've had, Ready, Steady, Cook, This Morning, the new stuff you've been doing, Mr. and Mrs., the Coaster, whatever the shows you've done. When you look back now, I don't know whether you feel like you've had time to sort of look back and go, do you know what? I love that. Which bits did you really, really enjoy? At which times were you really happy?
Yeah, that's a difficult one, because I don't think when you're in the throes of it, you're ever particularly happy, because everything's happening so fast. You're constantly on guard. But now, with a distance, I can look at that 40 years of television that I did, and be very proud of it and look at it as a big bulk of work and a big bulk of experience for me. I loved the series I did called Fern Britton Meets, which I interviewed a ton of people about their lives and actually their faith, their Christian faith. So it sounded as if it was going to be do-goody, but it wasn't at all. People were they had their guards down. And that was the one where I interviewed Tony Blair and asked him, would you have still gone into Iraq knowing there were no weapons of mass destruction? And he said yes. And then that became the subject of a day at the Iraq inquiry. And they all poo-pooed me, the man running. My caliber can get tripped up sometimes. I think, no, I didn't trip you up. There's none of that. It just suddenly came to me. Hang on, you're telling me that even if you would have gone, even knowing there were no weapons of mass destruction. And then he went on to say, well, Saddam Hussein needed to be taken down. Fair enough. But they all kind of denied it. But at those things, I have enjoyed being underestimated, because I've had some good things out of people, and I love interviewing, and I can look back and think, I enjoyed that. I really did enjoy it now. And the kids say to me, Mum, have you ever met? And you can go, yeah. And those that were nice and those that were disappointing.
And those that maybe surprised you, that you thought, you weren't really...
Definitely.
Done your research and stuff, did the interview, and then suddenly you're hugely engaged. Was there anybody that springs to mind like that?
Yes, I can't remember anybody's names in that sense, but definitely there'd be things I think, I don't really want to do this interview. And I won't tell you those names either, because it would be upsetting for them, but you think, oh God, I don't want to do that. And I loved them. And we got the best, and they liked me. That's something else that's nice. It's awful when you sit down with someone to interview and they don't like you. I remember interviewing Tom Baker once when he was at the height of Doctor Who, and he sat and he read a book through the interview. I mean, he was that helpful and engaged. Unbelievable.
How extraordinary.
I know. But then that's his thing. He's a bit weird, isn't he?
Well,
great actor, great voice.
Yeah. And you don't know actors until you interview them, of course, because they're never playing themselves. So it's always quite interesting, I think, isn't it, to interview an actor?
Very tricky, because they often haven't got their own personality sorted out yet.
Yeah, definitely some of them.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying watching Anthony Hopkins, who's been doing extraordinary things on Instagram and there is Twitter or Instagram, but he's doing this live stream now where he plays his piano and he'll play requests, and it's lovely. It's absolutely amazing.
How wonderful.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. I'm a bit concerned that I've only got about 8 bars of power left, so I'm just letting you know that in case
You suddenly cut out.
Yeah, in case I disappear.
In case you rudely just cut us off. Okay.
Yeah, go bye then. Yeah.
So this morning, when you were doing This Morning, you used to laugh a lot. I used to watch it mainly just to see you laughing, to be quite honest, because I loved the warmth of it and the company and the genuine feeling that it wasn't super scripted and that you were kind of going off on one, and it was just all very... And I'm guessing that was true.
Yes, absolutely true. I mean, I think Philip and I had a partnership that neither of us had probably ever had quite like that before. I mean, obviously he has that with Holly, which is wonderful, and she's terrific. But we were both of us trusting of each other to go off and riff on all kinds of stuff. And not super scripted at all. And then that was so wonderful, because the producers then left us to our own stuff, and trusted us as well. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was like going in, and I mean, you walk in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, and there would be Michael Bublé doing his warm up with the band and doing camera rehearsal, and he'd be slightly hungover and tired from the night before, and just adorable. And then I'd stand in and pretend to be the dancing with the Spice Girls, or all of those things. It was fun. It was great fun.
Yeah, what a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive.
Great job. And doing a show on a daily basis is always good fun, because you kind of have that connection with people, don't you? I want to.
Yeah.
If you're
I'm
struggling
just
with,
walking with you because I'm going to take you into the hovel of my home just to make sure that I can plug in a bit more power. So hang on, because I'm enjoying this. I don't know, when do you want me to shut up?
I never want you to shut up. I want you to just keep talking forever and ever. Amen.
All right.
Well, if you can put some more, we'll do about an hour. We've got another. If we can do another 15, 20 minutes, that would be marvellous, Fern. So,
Right, okay.
Take
Right,
us
here
in.
I go. Right, now here's the hovel of my kitchen. I don't know how to flip this. Oh, I might be able to, mightn't I?
I'm sure it's not a hovel.
Yeah.
Hang on. That's
Hair
it.
looks nice.
All right, thank you. Here we are, hovel of the kitchen. This is
Right.
all very Cornish. And this is, well, I'm having the builders in soon and the painters. So we've had to take out a lot of furniture. So it is looking as if we're squatting. So there we are. But do look at my lovely table, because I got this in an auction just before lockdown. Isn't that nice?
It's
Can't see it
fabulous.
because of the chairs, but give you a little tour.
It looks like
Isn't
a very
that nice?
lived-in.
It's all been painted and beautiful. Right, okay, I'm plugging myself in now.
Right. Okay.
This is so technical. I can't believe I'm doing this. Right.
It doesn't get any more live than this, does it? Where are you?
Oh, sorry, here I am. Ah, hello. Have you seen my Zwift bike?
Yeah.
Oh,
Zwifting.
yes.
Zwifting. Oh.
Check that out.
Look at that. We've got to talk about cycling because
Yeah.
that's been an incredible part of your life, hasn't it? Raising money, cycling, and that cycle you did from John O'Groat to Land's End, or the other way round.
Yeah, we did John O'Groat's to Land's End 5 years ago, and we're doing Land's End to John O'Groat's next year. We were supposed to be doing it right now, but we can't because of COVID. And so by the time we do it next year, I'll be 64, Susie. I mean, so exhausting. Is this all right? I arranged all that nice in the garden and then realised, sod it, I'm on the rocking chair in the conservatory and we are living seriously like squatters. But anyway, carry on.
Listen, we all live like that. We all live like that. It's all show, isn't it? When you see these people's homes in these magazines, and then as soon as the photographers leave, it's just stuff everywhere. You see, I should take you my kitchen. It's a right mess. It was lovely when we designed it. It's a right shit tip now with me and the Geordie lodger. It really is. There's stuff everywhere.
I like the sound of him. Can we see him?
No, well, I'll send you a picture later.
All right, because I hear
Don't want to
we're going
disappoint.
on a virtual coffee date.
Well, he's very excited about it.
Next
I wouldn't want to disappoint the whole Breakfast Club, though. We'll just leave him behind the camera. I'll tell you what, that man has been a godsend. He really has. And I'm not going to say it more than once. That's the only compliment you're getting this week.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Anyway, can
I
we
gave
talk?
him my phone number anyway.
Yeah, I've got a
Wow.
phone.
No wonder. He's literally floating behind the
I've
camera.
got your number one speed dial.
Have you ever had any run-ins with any Geordies in the past, Fern?
Oh, well, I have met a few, but when you say run-in, exactly what do you mean?
Well, no, I just mean any association, but I didn't want to pry.
No, I haven't had any romances with a Geordie. No, I've been very good because actually for the last 30 years I've been married to somebody or other, so I haven't really had much time to be single and enjoying myself. Oh, not that I haven't enjoyed myself. My marriages were very good, but you know, these things happen.
They do. I think you and I should go out together, actually. And
Definitely.
Maybe you could come out and protect me and Fern.
Okay, from what? From me?
From himself.
Protect me.
Who's going to protect you? No, you don't need protecting. Oh, you probably do, actually, yeah. A couple of cougars on the go. Right, Fern.
Yes.
Right, so the cycling's happening next year. I want to talk about your books.
I realise I haven't plugged in the power. If you turn it on, it works better.
That's why you came in, though.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay. Right. Books. Look, he's so excited he's choking. Books. You're an author. You're a very, very successful author. It's
my
amazing.
next string. Yeah.
Yeah, and a complete new life over the last 15 years?
10 years. It's 10 years since I left this morning. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And before that, you had some cookbooks and things out, didn't you? But
oh yes. Yeah. It was I wrote my autobiography, and as I was leaving this morning, and that sort of that did okay. And then HarperCollins publisher said to me, "Do you want to write a novel?" And I thought, we can write a television script, we can write a few words of voiceover, but 100,000 words in a book is a lot. So I didn't
Long
really
link,
know.
that, isn't it?
Yeah. But anyway, I gave it a go. And then 10 years on, the new one, book number 9, is being published on June the 11th. And it's called Daughters of Cornwall. And it's based on my family's story, actually. It's about, my grandmother, just before the First World War, we think, she got pregnant and had the baby in secret and had to hand him over to another family as in a sort of private fostering. But she kept in contact with him all the time. And he had, in 1980, when I was on television down here, that little boy, now a grown man with a family of his own, was on holiday down here, and he saw me, and he suddenly wrote me a letter saying, "I've just been on holiday, I saw you. Is your mother Ruth Britton? Is your father Tony Britton? Is your grandmother?" And he went on. So I thought, so I wrote back and went, "Yes," thinking maybe he won't be in touch with my mum as an old friend or something. And he wrote back again saying, "Well, this might come as a shock, but I think I'm your uncle." So then I had to say, "Well, I need some proof." So he wrote to me again with photographs of my grandmother sitting with him on a beach as a toddler, letters from her to his foster mum saying, "How is he doing? And I've put some more money in the envelope for you to look after him," and all of this. And then she did marry and had 3 children and had to deny that she'd ever had this little boy. She told nobody. And it's that sort of story. It's that one.
Wow. Well, that's how did you feel then when you found all this out?
Well, I was actually quite interested, but I was worried for my mother, for me telling my mum that her mother had this secret. And my grandmother was already dead by then. And so I went home, and we were washing up Sunday lunch. And I said to Mummy, "Oh, I've had this letter from this man, and he thinks he's your brother. And I have letters and I believe it." And my mother stopped washing up, and she just looked out of the window, and then she said to me, "Well, I'm not surprised." And apparently when my grandmother died, she said, "I've been a wicked woman, I've done wicked things." And so she might be furious that I've told this story. I've had to fictionalize it because we don't know. She wiped the slate cream. We don't know who this little boy's father was. We don't know anything. She there was nothing on the birth certificate, nothing. And so she might be cross with me, but I also want her to know that she did nothing wrong. She was a brilliant mother, a brilliant grandmother, and to all of us, she was a goddess. So
how sad, isn't it, that she had to keep it a secret like that? It must have been so hard for her. Yeah.
We think maybe that the father of that baby went off to war and died. We also think maybe it was my grandfather's brother, older brother. And as happened in those days, you would then go, marry the next one. Queen Mary did. Queen Mary was engaged to, I can't remember who he was now, but anyway, he died. And so she married the next brother, who became George V.
Right.
That sort of thing happened. But we don't know. We have no idea.
Wow. That's absolutely incredible story. Right, so back to the fact that you've written it into a book, Daughters of Cornwall, and yesterday you were, I think, making the voice recording. You're doing an audio book.
Yes,
that'll be the first one, won't it, of your books?
I did the early ones, and then I just didn't have time because you've got to do sort of 4 days in a studio, and I didn't always have time. So this time I have got time. So in lockdown, I was in this lovely little studio just down the way in St Agnes in Cornwall. So when we, lunch break, sit outside and look at the sea, and just the best kind of place to go and record. So yeah, I was doing that yesterday. So I've done 2 days, and I've got one more day to go, and I've got about 120 pages to read. So it's not bad. It's not a bad job. It's a good gig. And when it's written in Cornwall and it's set in Cornwall, and then there you are sitting in Cornwall reading it, it's lovely.
And do you think the fact that you've got Cornwall as a backdrop I mean, Cornwall is almost a character in your books, really, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah, it is. It's the main character. Yeah.
And does that somehow make it easier to have this set of books with the fact that you're kind of enveloped in this absolute heaven, as you called it earlier?
Yes. I mean, I used to write them, of course, up country when I was living there. But in my mind's eye, I was always in Cornwall, and my screensaver on the laptop is Cornwall and all of those things. But it's very easy to close your eyes and imagine Cornwall when you're not there. And then being here all day long, I mean, my little daughter, we were driving the other day to Tesco, and driving through the lanes, and she said, "Mum, we live here. Isn't that great?"
Yeah.
And yes, we do. Yes, we do. We live here. And because one or two people, when lockdown happened, they said to me, "Oh yeah, when did you get down here?" You know, as if I'd sneaked down at midnight. And I said, "Well, actually, since June." So that was all right.
You've got some fantastic restaurants down there as well, haven't you?
Gorgeous. I mean, they're all shut at the moment,
Mm.
but gorgeous. And I've made some really nice friends. Jill Stein, who with Rick built up the enormous empire. She's a wonderful businesswoman, very keen to get women into hospitality and everything. She's a very strong supporter of women, and she is a fantastic interior designer. And they have, you know, hotels and rooms and holiday cottages and things here to let. And they are so beautiful. So I'm very lucky to have made friends with her and her friend Terry Walter, who's also a fantastic interior designer. Not that I am, as you can see from my hovel. I have a friend who's just through the garden gate down there called Caroline. She has her little dog, Bailey. Caroline's become a great friend. There's another wonderful woman called Suzi Ray, who's an artist, and she's just up the lane a bit. And she's such a fantastic artist. She's a copyist, so that if you wanted an actual, say you wanted a Titian or something, she would paint it for you, and it would be identical, except for one thing. You know, copyists have to be very careful. So she's a legitimate copyist, and she's doing wonderful things. And then she rings up, and I mean, she brought me the other day. What did she bring me? Can't even remember now, but something beautiful, you know, and socially distancing, get a knock on the door. Oh, and the other day, knock on the door, yes, pasties, homemade pasties delivered to the doorstep.
Ah!
I know.
Ah!
And then the garden centre, that hasn't been open, obviously, has a little cafe. The cafe is still running. It's not open for people, but you ring up. I could ring now and say, "Can I have fish and chips tonight at 5 o'clock, please?" Yes. You drive along, you go in, you wash your hands, you know, anti-bac them, and it's all social distancing. And you get to the counter, you pay your money with the tap, so obviously with your card, go and sit in the car, and they come out with a bag of fish and chips for you. And on Saturdays, they do lobsters and wet fish straight out of the sea from Gavin the fisherman. And and if you want the lobsters cooked, they'll whip it into the kitchen, cook it up for you, and you bring it home. I mean, they're incredible. I'm living in paradise. I know you are. You're in France, beautiful.
Yeah, but it's not like that. I'm going to move to Cornwall.
Yes, I think you should.
Geordie Lodge, you have to look after this place. I'm off to Cornwall for some chips and some tartar sauce. I feel like I'm in one of your books when you're talking like that. That's how I feel.
Good. That's what I want to do.
I'm going to ask you some questions that people have sent in. Otherwise, it looks like I'm being very greedy. So, now, Lee Allen would like to know if you remember this moment. Live on air, you must have been doing a segment with a dog, and the dog started to find your leg very attractive, and he was trying to pull the dog off you. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that exact one, although I'm quite sure it's true. I had a lot of dog activity.
I've had a lot of dog activity as well.
Yeah, it's not good, is it?
No, not really. But you know,
No.
it's. I think if you a person with good energy, often you attract people, and they like to sort of whip it away from you. So
Well, yeah.
perhaps it's the same with dogs. Who knows? Um, now, what was the other thing? Oh, Claire. Claire says, "What was your highlight? What's been your highlight and low light of lockdown?" I think we've kind of sort of covered that. Is there anything else you'd like to throw in that mix?
Well, the highlight is not having to wear a bra for 8 weeks.
Oh yeah,
Oh
yes.
my Lord. I mean, I have put one on today for you. Look, a
Thanks.
blue one to match. But otherwise, nah. So that's a highlight. Low light is don't think there is one.
Okay, we'll take that. We're happy with that. It's all good. Gary White says you put jam first on your scones. Is that correct?
In Cornwall, in your scones, but you're northern, you can do that. Scones.
Thank
you. Scones. We put in Cornwall, you put jam first, then cream. However, I'm a heathen. I do the Devon way. I treat the cream as butter and jam on the top. I know. It's a matter of mass contention.
Yes. Well, I'm not sure that we can carry on this conversation.
This isn't going to come between us, is it?
No, it's not, because I say scones and you say scones. So, I mean, there's already a difference there, isn't there? Listen, that leads me to... I'm so excited to talk to you. I've not spoken about half the things I want to talk to you about. Calendar Girls. How was that? Because I followed you when you did, and I was like, oh, that's so amazing that you're doing that. Imagine if one day I could do something like that. It would be incredible.
Oh, yes.
So tell me the experience.
I'm sure you could. So it was an experience. It was a year of my life. So this time, 2 years ago, we were in rehearsals in that very hot summer in a very hot rehearsal room, and with wonderful people, lovely cast. I mean, everything was good, but I'm not an actress, and I found it quite hard. And the director wasn't always... So it was very difficult. But anyway, then we went off on tour. And as you just said about globetrotting, how much you enjoyed it, I enjoyed the touring. When I was a stage manager, I used to tour. And going to different cities and different towns and going into the different theatres. And I fell in love absolutely with the North. We were in Leeds for 4 weeks. I loved it. Walking up and down Briggate and shopping. And oh, gorgeous. Sheffield, what a town.
Yeah,
Newcastle, great places to eat, wonderful people, beautiful city. Manchester, obviously, and then further up we did Aberdeen, but I loved it. And they're so funny because it was quite a northern cast, and it's a very northern show because it was all set in Yorkshire. Obviously, the original Calendar Girls with their calendar were in Yorkshire. And after we played for 4 weeks in Leeds, we went to Canterbury. And they were all going, oh, you know, how are they going to take it in the south? Will they get it? And I said, oh, no, because we don't understand Coronation Street at all. You know, I said, what do you think, you idiots? Come on. I mean, it's like me saying the Northerners don't get only fields and horses, you know. And he went, oh, yeah, you're right. I said, yes, you fools. And, of course, it went really well. So we had, it was a fantastic tour, and I came away with several very good friends. And thank God, you know, every experience gives you something, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And these 3 friends I found I just adore. And yeah, so it's all good news. All good news.
Brilliant.
I didn't have to take my bra off, by the way. People always say that. Oh, were you the one who had to take your bra off? No, I was the one who didn't, and I didn't want them to take their bras off, and I didn't want them to do the pictures. But when they did it and it was a big success, I was also the one going, yes, it was all my idea.
Well, I'm sure there's been plenty of times where you have given ideas and people have claimed them as their own, as indeed television runs like that. Hey, Fern, just before we say goodbye, because I've got trying to get in within the hour here. Mrs. Parrish says, do you remember Steve Parrish, as in motorcycle racer commentator, being on Ready Steady Cook, putting condoms in the bag that you turn out when you're showing your ingredients, and so they had to do a retake?
Yes, I think I do remember that.
So
Yes, there were
naughty.
an awful lot of ruderies that did happen, and you know, that was part of the fun. But then, of course, it was all double entendre on the show anyway. You know, chefs were busy toasting their nuts and giving a little prick in the bottom, and you know, it was all so much fun.
Oh gosh. Well, you've been an absolute pocket full of sunshine this morning.
Oh, darling heart, I'm so pleased to see you. What time is it? Oh yeah, we're nearly there. Okay, so you just jump off air at 10 o'clock, or do you go on for hours on end and get a real person to interview in?
No, we try to stay under the hour and then we can post it, you see, and
I
kind
see,
of
I see.
how it works. Otherwise it's all a edit and a, you know, what have you.
Yeah.
A lot of jiggery pokery. But what's next for Fern?
New book. So I'm planning that already. New book to come, and I might try to write something for the stage. I might. And you know, how will I know if it's going to work if I don't try? So I'm going to give it a go.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And any of your books that you've already written, any chance of any of those being dramatised for TV or film?
God, that is the dream, Susie. That's the dream. I can't. If that would be wonderful if somebody did that, I'd love it. But you know, if it's right, it'll be, and if it's not, it won't. But they're doing all right as it is, and I'm very happy. They've all been in the Sunday Times top 10. The last one was at number 2 for about 4 or 5 weeks. I think it was somebody called Lee Childs, or you know, one of those boys who get me off. Patterson, him, you know.
Yeah.
But no, it's all good. It's all good.
It's great to hear about the sort of your new life really post this morning. But you still are doing television. I mean, any plans to do any? Is there any? I mean, we don't know. There's nothing being made at the moment, is there? But I just wondering about you and nature and gardening, because you love all of that, don't you?
Yeah, that would be fantastic, and I'd love that. But I'm not expecting anything. Although, if somebody offered me something lovely, I'd say yes, please. But you know, you get to a point where you think, well, maybe my time has come to an end, and there's no point in disappearing up your bum, getting worried about it. You know, because you and I freelances all our lives, I'm sure. And so we've trusted ourselves that something's going to happen, or we'll make something happen. You know, it has to be, doesn't it? So
yeah, it does. It does. Well,
Let's
thank
see.
you this morning for allowing us into your home, your life, and your heart, and for being so honest and gorgeous as you always are.
Oh,
Big loves from me and the Geordie Lodger, especially. I think the one from the Geordie Lodger is a slightly different kind of love to the one that I'm sending through the phone right now.
Well, I'm you know, available. I'm not doing anything for the next couple of weeks anyway. No. I'm very happy, actually, very happy being me and finding who I am again. You know, it's all okay. We're all right. Thank God.
Good. I'm very glad to hear that.
I love you very, very much, Susie Perry. Really
Thank
do.
you.
And,
love you too, Fern. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, and love to everybody. Hope you're all okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Ah, I feel like a butterfly, like I'm floating when you speak to somebody so divine as Fern.
She's just lovely, isn't she?
Yeah, she's just the most wonderful person in the
world.
world.
I could just listen to that voice all day.
I know, she's so, but you know, we love you, Fern. Thank you very much for your time. That's it. We hope you have a great Friday. Hope you enjoyed that and had some lovely warm company. Tomorrow it's Mark King. Music tomorrow. Get your questions in and float around today. Have a floaty Fern day. Big loves. Take care.